Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back. Welcome back to the 88 Sats radio channel, the daily Bitcoin journey. And welcome to Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Lots of greetings there. Almost too many greetings. I forgot to open the windows here today. Oh, well, it's too dark anyways. We got 1 day left. 1 day left before the spring. We start on the downslope towards the summertime. I believe the 21st of December is the shortest day of the year. Then we get some sunlight back. We could use it. We could use it for sure. You guys and girls are going to be pumped today. I got my mempools locked and loaded here. There'll be no delay. Oh, I got the wrong window open though. There we go. Okay. So we got a good episode today. I think it's going to be, this one probably could be about 3 hours long. So it's going to be more of a quick touch on each topic within this one. The most underrated aspect or the most underrated part of Bitcoin. That's what we're talking about today. Good morning, Mr. James Bond in the house. Early comment today. And Jason. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, YouTube, Rumble. Glad to have you here today. Let's get to the mempools. Mempool. Good transition there. We got, we're currently block height 822,088. Great number. Great number. And we have crossed another 1,000 blocks, which is good news always. The Bitcoin blockchain, the Bitcoin network keeps chugging along, even though we have the reptiles in government trying to shut things down, which we're going to talk about. But that's what we got going on. Block height 822,088. Metrics, big screen today. You notice a nice little green button there, which we're going to touch on in 1 second. So the fees are still quite high. 279, dropped a little bit since then, but 225 sats per VByte this morning. Still pretty expensive. If you have any Bitcoin that you're waiting to move around, I would hang on. And I think that there's a lot of people hanging on right now, waiting for Christmas Day. So we'll see. I think that hopefully the fees will go down on Christmas Day, but I think that anytime everybody's expecting the same thing, it never works out that way. So I'm sure fees on Christmas will be like 1,000 sats per VByte. The price today looks like we're back in the 43,000s, which I don't know if that's current or not. It was an hour ago. 43,176 US dollars. Year ago, December 20th, 2022, the price of Bitcoin was $16,902. And 4 years ago, in the Bitcoin cycle, could have got one Bitcoin for 7,212 US dollars. And you'll notice a big yes there with a green button. And I'm going to start talking about this just as part of the metrics every morning. But on yesterday's show, we talked about a new concept, a new idea. And that advice was to get through one cycle. And so that's what we're going to be focused on here. This 2019 figure here, if this is lower than today, then that theory is correct. And the theory is that if you buy Bitcoin and you hold on to that Bitcoin for at least 4 years, you're going to come out ahead. So in this case, it went pretty much, what is that? 7 times 6 is 40. Yeah. So it's about 6x from 4 years ago. Pretty good investment. And we'll kind of track that as we go along here. I think the big test will come in 2025, I think. When was the all-time high? I think 2021. If anybody out there watching knows, let me know. I think it was 2021 though. So that'll be the real test. If we're higher than that, then we're smooth sailing for a while. $1 US today will get you 2,319 sats. The price in Canada today is 57,277 CAD, Canadian dollars. And 1 loonie will get you 1,737 Satoshis. Let's get rid of those. Things are buzzing. Things are buzzing in the world of Bitcoin right now. The one thing that does scare me before we get into any of this stuff, the one thing that does scare me is that everybody's expecting things to go up. But the other thing about that is Bitcoin doesn't really give a shit. Bitcoin is not listening or watching this podcast. Bitcoin is just going to keep making blocks and providing an open and honest ledger for the world. And people can say whatever they want. It will just keep going. So that's my thought on that. Let's talk about that, because the highlight for today was that Elizabeth Warren and a fella named Roger Johnson, I believe. I don't know. Elizabeth and Roger. They came out in front of the US yesterday, introduced their nice bill to try and ban Bitcoin or ban cryptocurrencies. What they're probably going to find out is, like everybody else who has tried to stop Bitcoin, is that they're going to fail. They're going to fail miserably. They can slow it down, I think, but I mean, they're in the process of approving ETFs right now. So good luck with that. But there's really no way to stop it. We saw what happened when China tried to ban Bitcoin mining back in 2022, I believe. It dropped about half, and then it's gone 4 or 5x since then. So the nice thing about Bitcoin is that if you do try to stop it, if a country tries to stop it, all of that power, all of that energy from that country will just find other places to plug into. And we've seen that in the past. It will continue to happen into the future. And that is the beauty of the Bitcoin network. It doesn't care what Elizabeth Warren says or Raj. But the crazy thing about that is, and the crazy thing about politics itself, is that this whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency funding terrorism bill that they're trying to keep us safe from, is that they came out and said that like hundreds of millions of dollars were used by Hamas to try and fund terrorism. So they introduced this bill. They came out, got on their little microphone there. And then about a week or two later, we found out that the actual amount of Bitcoin that was potentially used by Hamas was like 2% of what they actually claimed. And that's how everything works. They come out with these bold statements, these bold claims. They introduce bills, legislation around it, and then people get all worked up. And then a week or two later, they come out and retract it and say that, okay, this wasn't actually the truth, but we're still going to go ahead with it because it doesn't really matter. The whole thing was fiction from the beginning. But good luck, Elizabeth Warren. I think the best thing that they can do, and that they're doing right now, is the ETF. And that's partially what we're going to be talking about on today's show. And I was going to call this episode Why You Shouldn't Invest, or Why You Should Avoid the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. But I figured that was kind of like a negative connotation, because I think that there are still use cases for it, as we've talked about. If you're just getting into Bitcoin and you have zero knowledge, but you still want to get some exposure to Bitcoin, the ETF is the best route for now. But as we're going to talk about in this episode here, the real beauty of Bitcoin is the technology around it. And there's so much being built on Bitcoin right now. And I think that there's hardly anybody talking about it. Everybody's so focused, so obsessed with the ETFs, with the halving, with all this kind of stuff, how it's going to make the rich richer, essentially. When this ETF is launched, it's going to basically eliminate the chance of the little guy, the average Joe, getting into Bitcoin at a reasonable amount. That's what's going to happen with this ETF. And so that's kind of what everybody's focused on. They're comparing it to digital gold, digital real estate. All this money is going to flow into Bitcoin, and it is. But nobody's talking about what Bitcoin can actually do for the world and for technology, through technology for us. So that's what I'm going to be talking about briefly today. And kind of throughout this, if you are watching on YouTube or Rumble, let us know. Let us know if there's any applications or different things that you've discovered in Bitcoin that would be of use to others. Because the beauty of the show, the beauty of this channel is that it's going to be focused on growing together. And we can help each other out with different things. That's why I love Nostr so much, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. But it is a community just wanting to push things forward here. So if you do have good ideas, if you found a good resource or a good application built on Bitcoin, either leave it in the chat here or send an email, and we'll discuss it on the show. That's the beauty of these live shows. We have the ability to do that. So let's kick things off here. I got about 4 or 5 things here that I want to touch on. I'm going to kind of be brief with it because, like I said, this could be a 3-hour show, but we're going to try to keep it to a minimum today. So the first one, and yesterday I talked about getting through one cycle, get some skin in the game. And I gave an action plan, kind of 8 steps of what you could do today to get started and then get through one cycle. And within that was start earning some free sats. And so I'm going to give a couple here of resources that you can use to earn free sats. And I do want to kind of make this a little bit, put some pressure, I guess you'd say, because the reality is that as we move along here, as Bitcoin keeps increasing in purchasing power and value, these are going to start to shrink. And today is the best time to be taking advantage of this stuff because it will fade away. The rewards will decrease, as we've seen. A perfect example of this is ShakePay. So I've been using ShakePay for a couple years now. And probably 6 months to a year ago now, when Bitcoin was starting to get up there in price, maybe it was longer than that. Anyways, they cut the rewards basically by half or more. So every day you get X amount of rewards, say it was 500 sats per day. They cut that to like 50 or to like 25 sats, whatever it was. They cut their referral bonus down because as the value grows, there's more and more people getting into it. So there's less rewards to go around. So kind of the premise here is to take advantage of this now, today, because it's not going to be around forever. So the first one is an application called Club Bitcoin. And I'm not a solitaire guy myself. My mom always plays solitaire still. But there is an application called Club Bitcoin that you can play as much solitaire as you want. You earn free sats for playing it. The way that works is basically you play a couple games, you get entered into a draw, you win some sats, and then you can withdraw those sats instantly into your Lightning wallet. So I think this would be a good place to start for a lot of people. Most people are familiar with solitaire, how the game works. And it's also going to make you set up a Lightning wallet. So you can use Phoenix, you can use Wallet of Satoshi, and every time you win some sats from this game, you can withdraw it. And so I think that this would be a really good learning experience for people who are just getting into Bitcoin to start with this app called Club Bitcoin, earn some free sats, set up a Lightning wallet, and learn how that works, and earn some free sats in the meantime. So that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit on here on my list that I had. And kind of the next aspect of that is the Fountain app. I talk about this quite often on the show, but it's basically Spotify with Lightning, Bitcoin compatible. So you go in there, you set up an account on Fountain, you start listening to podcasts. Every minute you listen to podcasts, you start earning sats. Kind of crazy. For up to an hour a day, you can earn free sats. Some days it's 1 sat per minute. Some days it's 5 sats per minute. The other day I got 8 sats per minute. And this grows over time, and you can withdraw this as well to your Lightning wallet, or you can give back. So if there's people within the Bitcoin community that you want to give some value back to for what they're contributing to Bitcoin, you can. So you can earn some just for listening, and then you can either withdraw it to your own Lightning wallet, or you can spread it around. You can stream it to different podcasters. You can give a boost to different podcasters. And there's a ton, pretty much any podcast you're looking for will be on Fountain. It's not like it's only 100 or 200 Bitcoin specific podcasts. I'm pretty sure that the majority of podcasts are on Fountain. So instead of paying Spotify, instead of feeding that beast, just download Fountain. Start supporting that. Start earning free sats. And it's a pretty cool thing. And that is something that Lightning is providing to everybody is a way to give value, get rewarded for your attention. And the really cool thing about Fountain, and the cool thing about how this whole Bitcoin applies to this, because there's YouTube that has the what's it called, super fan or super chat, whatever it is. You can send dollars to anybody on Reddit, on Twitter, on YouTube. But the real beauty of this is that you can send Bitcoin, very small amounts of Bitcoin, without putting in your credit card information, without entering your name, without any of that attached to you. You can send value, you can receive value. And to take it kind of a step further than that, say that I had a podcast. I do. The Bitcoin journey. And say that I had Johnny on. Johnny is a guest on the daily Bitcoin or the daily Bitcoin journey. And he has a Fountain account. He has a Lightning wallet. And so I set up that specific show. You can set up splits. So for everybody who enjoyed that show, they can send in sats, and Fountain will automatically split those between Johnny and I. And you can change that split. I could take 50%. I could give 70% to Johnny, whatever that looks like. And so we're kind of at the forefront of everything in terms of what that is going to provide and what kind of capabilities are going to come from that. Because if you think about it, and this is kind of where my brain goes to, I think of the music industry, and I think about how many artists are out there who are on Spotify, on Apple Music, and the amount that they actually get after Apple gets paid, after everybody else gets paid, their agents get paid, is very small. And so I see in 5 years from now, whatever timeline you want to put on it, there will be an artist like, say, Morgan Wallen. There's a music app based around Bitcoin and sats, and he gets on there, and for every song that he has, he can set up the split for himself, for his guitarist, for his writers. Every person who helped make that song can automatically get paid every time somebody streams that song. And if you compare that to how it is right now with Spotify, think about the admin costs there. Think about the time spent trying to figure all that out, the checks that are written, the bank transfers that are sent, the delay in getting streamed to actually showing up in Morgan Wallen's pocket. Like, it's archaic compared to what we have the capability to do now. So none of that would be necessary. You listen to a song, and you don't even have to pay a monthly fee. You can fund your own wallet, and you can listen as much as you want. And so every time you listen to a song, maybe 1 or 2 sat streams to that artist that you listen to. And you can boost, you can leave a note on there, and that goes to the artist as well. And I really think that it's only a matter of time before we get some huge artists that realize the capabilities. They make the switch over to an application like Fountain or the music version of that. There is one called Wavelake. I checked it out. It's still pretty new. All of this is very new. And so I don't think that they could even handle something like that yet, but it is being built. And it is going to change how we do absolutely everything. And kind of just to take a little step back here, what needs to happen for that to, fall into place? The key is that people need to want Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs to be so mainstream and so talked about and so valuable that people want sats. Artists want sats. We're not there yet. And that's why that's why I'm thinking, like, on the flip side of this, we do need the ETF. We do need the big institutional money coming into this. So people start talking about it. So people start wanting it. Because when people start wanting Bitcoin, That's when we can see the true capabilities of everything on Lightning. So I think that is massive. I think that will change the entire music industry and every aspect that's kind of tied to that. We're there with podcasts right now, but we're not even close to it with the music aspect. And I think that's coming. The next part here is Nostr. And I'm not sure how many people listening to this or watching are on Nostr yet. Nostr, like Bitcoin, like the internet, Nostr is just a protocol. And so there's a ton of different things being built on top of Nostr right now. The main use case for it right now is like a social platform, like a Twitter. There's different streaming services popping up out of Nostr. But the beauty of it, there's lots of beauties of it actually, but kind of the thing that I really love about it is that you have one private key, similar to like a Bitcoin wallet. You have a private key and a public key, essentially. And so you can take your public key, think of it like a password. So say you have a password for Facebook, you have a password for Twitter, you have a password for your YouTube account. The private key is essentially the same thing, except it gives you access to every single application that's built on top of Nostr. So if I went into an application, there's an application called Primal. So if I downloaded Primal on my phone, I set up a Nostr key, and then I said something or did something that Primal didn't like, they could boot me off of there. Primal could, but I could take that exact same private key that I had for Primal. I could not take it out, but I could copy and paste it into Damus. And I would have the exact same feed. I would have the exact same followers, the people I'm following. Everything would just transfer over to Damus. So I don't have to start over again. I don't need to, there's nobody that can stop you unless every single Nostr client that exists, which is already probably hundreds or thousands, unless they all kicked you off, which is possible. But I mean, if you get to that point, you probably don't deserve to be hanging out on the internet. So that's one aspect of it. And I think that as we move along here, Nostr's it's pretty much been really used for about a year now. And the capabilities within Nostr, I think, are more than we can even comprehend. And if you think about that, a marketplace built on Nostr, a LinkedIn built on Nostr, a streaming service like YouTube built on Nostr, all these things are going to come. We're still so early in this whole cycle of growth cycle and adoption. And so another aspect of that and how it relates to Bitcoin is that if you have a post on Nostr and people like it, think about Instagram or Facebook. If you like a post on there, what really even happens? Not much. I mean, it might get in front of more eyes through the algorithm, but you don't actually get anything for people liking your post. If you spend a lot of time and energy creating a post and people like it, you get nothing for that. Whereas on Nostr, you have the ability to send Bitcoin. You have the ability to send sats. So if you like a post, instead of just clicking the little heart, you can actually, it's called zapping. So you can zap them some Bitcoin to show your appreciation for what they're doing, whatever they're working on, whatever you found valuable. You can send them actual value through Bitcoin, through Lightning, instead of just the likes. And so I think that the incentives there over time, as more and more people learn about this and discover this, we start seeing some athletes come. We start seeing some celebrities come, some professional or musicians. As they come, that's when their following comes. And another analogy here that I like to use is YouTube. So on YouTube, if you want to set up a channel, which I mean, everybody I think in 5 or 10 years from now will have their own version of a YouTube channel. Whatever they want to talk about, they'll have that. But if you think about YouTube, it's almost impossible for small creators to get paid on YouTube. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of energy just to get the approval of almighty YouTube before they can start giving you some money for ads. So not only do you have to wait forever to actually get paid for feeding the beast that is YouTube, not only do you have to wait forever to get paid, the other part is you're making your audience watch ads in return for you getting paid. So the whole incentive system is just completely messed up. That's how everything is. And so Nostr fixes that. You could set up a Nostr account today. You can make a post of whatever you're into, whether that's golf, whether that's plumbing, whether that's designing homes. You can make a post, and if people on Nostr get value from that, they don't need YouTube's approval to send you money. They can do it. They can send you 20 sats. They can send you 20,000 sats. It's up to you. That's what freedom is. And the other part of that, on the flip side, is you don't have to. If you don't want to send somebody sats, you don't have to. You can still see it. But that is the way that we're moving towards a decentralized system that does not require anybody's permission to use or to send payments. So I would highly suggest, if you haven't yet, get onto Nostr. The best way to do that is probably Primal. You can get that in the App Store, Primal, or Damus, Damus. If you don't want to go through that, that's what I would suggest, because the nice thing about that is if you do it on your phone, they automatically, it's pretty seamless. They give you a private key, a public key, which, think about it like your username and password. They provide you with that. Whereas if you did it on your desktop, you have to go through the trouble of installing a browser extension to sign your transactions. There's more friction there. So I would suggest on your phone, get Primal, get Damus, play around. And if you're going to do that, what I would suggest is leave a comment on this video with your public key. So you're going to have your private key and your public key, exactly like Bitcoin. Don't share your private key with anybody. That's how you're going to log into things. So that starts with NSEC, I think, NSEC. That's your private key. But then your public key is NPUB, NPUB. So leave a comment here with your public key. That's how people find you. And then whoever's in the chat today, whoever's checking out this video later, they can follow you, they can find you, send a post to you, whatever it is. I just think that it can help you get a little bit of a boost, and I'll follow you as well if you're on there. What do we got here? Primal, it allows to be linked to Nostr. So Primal is basically built on Nostr. And kind of the way that I like to think about this is the internet is a protocol, and there's applications, there's websites built on the internet protocol. It gets technical, there's servers involved, all that kind of stuff. But with Nostr, it's the exact same thing. Nostr is a protocol similar to the internet, and there's applications like Primal, like Damus, like what's the other one? Amethyst. Anyways, there's a ton of these clients, and they all have kind of different features. And so these are all applications built on top of Nostr. Nostr itself is not an application. It's just a protocol that you can build things on top of. So that's the Nostr aspect of it. And the last one here, what I wanted to talk about is King Golf and kind of my experience with the incentives and how everything works right now. So we have King Golf is my little brother and I's golf company. It's a King Golf hat right here. But we have an Instagram account and a TikTok account and a Facebook account. And we've had, through the years, we've been going for about 4 years now. And through the years, we've had several videos of ours go viral. And until you kind of go through a viral video, you don't really understand the ins and the outs of how it all works. And so what we've had happen during this time is that we post a video and then all of a sudden it gets picked up by CBS. It gets picked up by TSN. It gets picked up by Zaire Golf, which is like the biggest golf account on Instagram. They basically just pluck everybody's videos. They give you credit for it. Thanks, sometimes, if they get it right, unless somebody stole it from you and then they took it from them. But you don't, so you put out this video that everybody gets to enjoy, everybody gets to have a laugh over, whatever that is. And you don't get any sort of benefit from that at all. So there's centralized accounts, there's centralized companies, I guess you'd say, that take people's content and they post them every day and they get millions of followers by using other people's videos. And so kind of the issue here that I have is that people say, well, yeah, I mean, it's the internet, so everything flows as it should, which I agree with. But the issue that I have is that Zaire Golf, or whoever this is, I'm using Zaire as an example here, they take this video, they get the followers, they get the sponsorships, they get the money from ad revenue, whatever it is, they get all of that off the backs of other people. And we did have a video recently of ours go viral. And it's crazy the difference between your video going viral on an account like Zaire, where they tag you, and a video going viral on your own channel. Because we've probably gotten between 500 and 1,000 new followers from this video that we wouldn't have had if Zaire Golf took it and just gave us credit for it. They tagged us in it. Because think about it. How many times do you see a video and you read the description and you see whose video this actually is? Then you go to their account and then you start supporting them. 0% of the time? Me too. James Bond in the chat says, do we link Primal to a hot wallet? You link it to wallet of Satoshi or Phoenix. Pretty much any Lightning app. You get your Lightning URL and you post that, or you copy it, you paste it into your settings within Primal. I actually haven't used the Primal mobile version yet. I use Damus for mobile. And the reason I don't use Primal is because I haven't updated my phone in probably 2 years. And the Primal app is brand new. And so I can't get it without updating my phone. But the reason I suggest it is because I love Primal on desktop. That's what I use quite often, is the desktop version of that. Because it's more familiar. It's what we kind of know. It uses an algorithm to spot trends, the most popular posts, that kind of stuff. So Primal uses that. Damus does not use that. And so, yes, this is exactly where I was going with this. So the comment here says, good point for your viral video. Nostr would allow you to be making sats. Cool. And not only that, but the crazy thing about this whole, where we're going, where I think we're going, where we could go if we do it properly, is that think about that video. So say that this video that I'm talking about specifically was on the golf course. There was 8 people in the video. There's one person who hit the putt. Everybody kind of had their own reaction to it. And if you follow our accounts, you know what video I'm talking about. But think about a way that we could post that. And if people liked it, they could send us sats. And every person who shared that on Nostr, we get a portion of that. If they share it, that's cool. They can build their accounts, but we get a portion of every time that's posted, and every zap that they get, we get a portion of. And to take it another step further, every person in that video, if they have a Lightning wallet, we could set up a split for to give them a portion of that. So not only would Zaire not get it, but we would get the majority of it, and we could give the people who were actually in the video credit, value, actual value through Bitcoin for being there. And I do hope this gets built. This is something that we're kind of in the process of doing this right now with King Golf. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I think initially it's going to be pretty archaic. And so the plan kind of is that we have an Instagram account. It's called Kingdom. So KNGDOM Golf. Aside from our normal account, King Golf, but we set up this Kingdom Golf account. And I wanted to kind of replicate Zaire, except I want every person who contributes to it, who sends a video in, and if we end up posting that, we pay them in sats. And this is why I believe that this could work instead of the traditional financial system. Is because think about the pain and the difficulty would be for me to send you 30 cents or 75 cents. So if this is done properly, we could essentially, every time you upload a video, we pay you 100 sats, which is the equivalent of like 2 or 3 cents. If your video goes viral on our account, based on the shares, based on the likes, you get a portion of that. That's how I see this going in the future. And you could absolutely not do that in the traditional legacy financial system because it would be impossible. You can't send transfers of 20 cents, of 30 cents. And think about how many people would be in the way of stopping that or approving that or whatever you need to happen. With Lightning, you can do as much or as little as you want instantaneously without anybody's approval. So that's, I think, where everything changes. And so kind of what I want to do here initially is that I want to have an account here. If you send us a video, we'll automatically send you 50 sats or 100 sats. It'll vary depending on the price of Bitcoin. And then if it goes viral or if it gets X amount of impressions or views, then we send another payment of sats. So you send us the video, you send us your Lightning address, and we kind of take care of the rest. Like I said, right now, this would be kind of like an archaic version of doing that. It would take a lot of my time. But I do think over time, either we'll have our own application built on Nostr, where we do the exact same thing, except in the background, the protocol, the Lightning, the splits, it does all that for us. And I mean, we're 38 minutes in here. This is an idea that I have. I shouldn't probably give away my ideas, but this is kind of my vision of how I want things to play out. And if somebody beats me to it, then good on them. But kind of my idea here is that I want to have a golf application built on top of Nostr. And it's kind of like free game. It has a feed. You set up a profile, you set up your home course, your handicap, you put all that in there. And this relates to golf. So if you aren't a golfer, you can either tune out or you can think about how you could use this for your own interests, your own hobbies. But kind of how I see this is that you set up a profile, it's like a feed, and you have like an option. So I want to post a video. I want to post a picture. I want to leave a product review. I want to leave a course review. And every time you do that, every time you contribute to that specific network or protocol, you instantly get sats for doing so. So that's number one. Every time you do, and if you post a video and a bunch of people like it, they can use Nostr, they can use Lightning to pay you for that video. So it wouldn't be running through King Golf, it would be running through this protocol built on top of Nostr. And just think about the capabilities there with golf or with whatever you want to tie it to. But you could essentially reward people for contributing their experience, their time, their energy Plus, if they post a video, people get value from it, people like it, they can reward them instantly without having to go through YouTube, without going through Instagram. You don't need them. Part of this whole thing is that we just kind of like one day at a time start putting our energy into this kind of stuff, into what could be built, instead of giving it all to the legacy system here. We got a question here in the chat. Who pays the sats? Where do the sats come from? User donations. Yes. So the sats in this case would come from your Lightning wallet. So if you wanted to participate in this application, this Nostr application, you would fund your wallet with, say, 20,000 sats. That's just a hypothetical number, 20,000 sats. And you could decide how you want to dish those out. And if you want to make a post, if you went to a golf course last week and you had a tremendous, if you had an amazing experience at that golf course, you post about it, you share your experience, you share your score if you want to. And if anybody on that application gets value from that, they can send you sats. So you have your Lightning wallet connected in the background. You can pay out if you want to, or you can post and you can receive into that wallet without anybody's permission, without anybody else taking a fee. And kind of, I mean, I shouldn't say without anybody else taking a fee, because the way this would work is that if our company built this app, every time somebody did that, every time somebody sent a zap or left a review in somebody's app, that we would get, like, say, 1% of that. And that's how we would continue building, continue growing, and continue to monitor, I guess, or maintain this app. And that's what Fountain does. So every time you send a boost or streaming sats, Fountain takes a part of that, which is how it should be. If you're building stuff, you should be paid for it. So that's kind of my idea. This was kind of like a long-winded explanation of the tech involved in Bitcoin. I do want to start wrapping this up a little bit. I just saw that Bitcoin has crossed $44,000. Cheers to that. And we got another comment here. I do want to touch on this because this is important. So Bittrio, good to see you. There's an altcoin doing something like this called Hive. Upvotes are worth some of the coin. Maybe the Nostr app can use some ideas from that. The problem I have with that, and it looks like you're a Bitcoin guy, so you'll understand this. The problem I have with that is that you don't need Hive. There's probably a company out there who owns Hive, who owns the tokens, who has the ability to print more Hive tokens. Maybe not, but you don't need a token for this. We have a token for this. It's called Bitcoin. It's called sats. And instead of making an altcoin for this or that, why not just build on Nostr or something like that and use sats? Because the more people we have using Bitcoin, the more things being built on top of Bitcoin, the more valuable that Bitcoin becomes. Sats only. You don't need any other tokens for this stuff. We have sats, we have Lightning. You can send it instantly without anybody's permission. There's no company, there's no Hive that has the ability to print more and devalue your Hive tokens. It's sats. The more people that use it, the more the network grows and the more valuable Bitcoin becomes. So that is the end of today. I'm sure that only the nerds out there will appreciate this episode. The whole premise here is, one, that we're very early, but things are being built on Bitcoin right now that would blow people's mind. And if you set up a Nostr account, if you start putting your energy into that new system being built, you'll see how much change is happening. You'll see how the most intelligent people on the planet are building on top of Bitcoin. And I love the analogy, and this is kind of what I want to end with, is that I love the analogy of two buckets. So think of two buckets. One here, one here. This one's the old system, the broken incentive system, the system that's built on lies and dishonesty. Most people have this bucket full. They spend all of their time here. They're watching the news. They're going to their job and giving half their paycheck right off the bat to the government. Most people are still in this bucket. This new bucket, like Nostr, this open ledger called Bitcoin, built on honesty, does not require trust, does not require permission, does not really care what anybody else thinks. That's this bucket. Every day, take some of your time, and the water in these buckets are your time and energy. So every day, you don't have to do everything at once. Don't quit your job and start trying to get Bitcoin jobs. But one day at a time, start interacting on Nostr instead of Twitter. Start using Fountain instead of Spotify. Start, instead of watching Netflix every night, start thinking of ways you could post on Nostr that other people would get value from. And in return, you could earn some sats back. Start whatever business you do, whatever skills you have, start contracting that out through Nostr, through these different platforms that are being built in return for Bitcoin. Say, hey, I do graphic design and I accept Bitcoin. Somebody in Dubai could find you. Somebody in Nashville could find you. Bitcoin is global. It has global demand. It has global liquidity. And that's going to unlock so much skill and potential for the future. So one day at a time, start taking water from your old bucket and putting it into the new bucket. And if we all do that, what happens to this bucket? It's empty. And the more that this bucket starts to get lower and lower, the old system starts to panic more. They print more money, Bitcoin becomes more valuable. And you can see how this whole thing plays out if we focus on that one day at a time, putting more and more of our time and our energy into this new system, into the system that's built on honesty and freedom. And that's what we're here for. Power to the nerds. So let's leave it there. This has probably been the longest episode. I knew this was going to be a long one, but I'm sure as we go along here, we'll kind of dive into each one, maybe one show per each thing I talked about here. We do definitely have the ability to do that. So happy hump day. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means if you have any questions, after this show, I hope that you're either thinking about things a little bit differently, or you have some ideas, or it sparks something. Whatever it is, send it in. We'll talk about it tomorrow on the live show, the live Q&A. If you have any questions, if you get stuck on Fountain, on Nostr, anywhere, send an email to 88sats@proton.me and we'll talk about it tomorrow. We already have a couple questions. I saw a couple questions in the comments, a couple questions in the email. And so tomorrow will be a good one. Cheers to Bitcoin, 44,000 again, but we know that the US dollar is just an illusion. So anyways, let's end these shows. I'm going to start ending these shows with the plan here. And the plan for Bitcoiners, for people who are thinking about getting into Bitcoin, is to educate yourself, to only invest as much as you know, and to get through one Bitcoin cycle. That's the play. That's why we're here. And I appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody who has been liking, sharing, subscribing. It means a lot. And we're going to keep this train rolling. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.